I mean, when you lose an election to a rage-fueled, vengeance-driven, convicted felon who plays the media and his political opponents as the enemy from within, and raises specters of guns pointing at these people, when you lose to that, when to that type of man, when you're a very qualified candidate, you have the chance of putting the first woman into the White House, you have to ask why. And for the most part, I mean, is it just that simple that Trump appealed to the basic, I'm going to make the economy better for you, even though it's not that bad under Biden, but he managed to portray it as feeling really, really rotten. I mean, what are we looking at here when we see Trump promising to bring in RFK Jr. to take over health and vaccines, and maybe Elon Musk is going to have a role in this government. So, Bitcoin for everybody's taxes or whatever is just so scary to some degree. But yet the American voters went there, and in big, big numbers. And you have to think that, to me, most of us just can't seem to understand this, how a man whose very actions every day seem to disqualify him for the job gets elected and reelected. We know what's going to come here. And to me, it's almost like the Americans with their guns. We just can't relate. We just can't understand. It's like there's some sort of mania there that we just can't relate to. And I think the same comes to Trump. The rest of the world just doesn't get Trump, but the American voters clearly see him as the better choice in this election.
Well, the adage, John, is the only poll that counts is election day, and that's the poll that counted, and clearly he won not only the Electoral College, the popular vote for the first time, won the Senate, likely to control the House of Representatives. Even if it's close, it's going to be a problem for the Democrats. I heard Democrat strategists saying, well, we just needed to do a better job at connecting the dots. And I suggested to the Now and Next team yesterday, that's great. You can connect all the dots you want, but you were connecting the wrong fucking dots. They had dots all over the place, but they weren't focused on the dots that mattered. And I just think the lack of focus on that campaign is really what Keith is getting at.
Yeah, on reflection, a few things about the election. Number one, it's about the message as opposed to the messenger. When you take a look at and you take away the Donald Trump rhetoric and those stem winders, that went on and on with him personally, he was hitting all the notes that most Americans are concerned about, whether it be the economy or immigration or lowering taxes or whatever. I mean, he was on message to what the vast majority of the United States electorate wanted to hear about. First is Kamala Harris, who decided that their campaign was going to be all about saving democracy and protecting women's rights and things like that. So it was a contrast in message as opposed to just the messenger. The second thing was, it caught my eye right in the morning of the election when the turnout was as high as it was. And if you look at the aggregate numbers of turnout, it may not have been higher than other times. The reality is, when more people go to the polls, it means that you're throwing out an administration as opposed to putting them in. The public opinion polls underestimated again in the United States that there are certain groups of people who just are not coughing up exactly how they're going to vote, but it's the independents who, in fact, moved the needle along with some of those other smaller groups. It didn't surprise me at the end of the day, but I have to say, in watching on election night, I've never said this before, but I was switching between all the channels. So CNN, ABC, CBS, is sitting in the living room here and watching it. And I happened on Fox News, and, there will be people who say, Fox News, they're all biased. I found Fox News to be the most balanced, involved, I think the most realistic assessment of what was going on in America that night. And it made me think of the other news media and how they were very personally invested in the outcome, as opposed to what I saw and did not expect on Fox News, which was a very transparent, really well organized, involved panel.